The Ravagers have once again attacked our planet. The war between us, the EDF, and them has lasted for several months. Meanwhile, the secret project we've been developing has reached its final testing stage. The most important part of this project is the new aviation unit for wing divers. It allows for continuous flight, and perhaps most importantly, the ability to emergency reload without having to return to the ground. This new aviation unit is also able to store a vast amount of energy. As a byproduct, it can also instantaneously expel a huge amount of that energy. Due to this, we have been able to give wing divers the ability to boost in flight and use some of the most advanced weaponry out there. We, the EDF, have succeeded in our quest for more advanced arms. But now, a new nightmare is threatening to consume the world.
Giant insects have appeared in the city. We haven't been able to confirm the exact number, but they're everywhere.
Why are they appearing here? We cleaned this place out.
Our main forces are already preparing to invade the mothership. Almost all of our soldiers are already deployed.
Don't tell me these creatures planned all of this.
We do still have an undeployed wing diver team, but...
The ones testing the new aviation unit?
Yes, and it would be too dangerous to send them out before it's done.
We can't just wait. At this rate, the citizens will be massacred. Wing diver unit! Giant insects have appeared in the city. Your testing is suspended. You are to head immediately to the city. Wing diver unit, fly forth!
Last week, D3 Publisher dropped a new Earth Defense Force game on us all, and apparently forgot to tell anybody about it. I know a number of die-hard EDF fans who had absolutely no idea that this game was coming to PlayStation 4. Heck, I count myself as an EDF fan, and I didn't even know that this thing was coming. And on top of that, I'm actually the media, so I'm usually the one that gets the press releases. This didn't happen with this case. In this case, it really does seem like it came out of nowhere. But let's put all of that aside to talk about EDF 4.1 Wing Diver the Shooter, which, as I mentioned, launched on the PlayStation 4 last week. It's been around on the PC for about a year, I believe, but yes, now it's also on console, and that's a good fit for the SHMUP genre. So where most Earth Defense Force games are third-person shooters in the most delightfully B-grade sense of the word, this one is indeed a SHMUP in the most delightful B-grade sense of the word. As the title suggests, you play one of the Wing Divers, the franchise's airborne all-woman squadron of warriors, and you play through the same events as Earth Defense Force 4.1, but this time from a very different perspective. Top-down shooter as opposed to third-person shooter. Enemies come on even more thick and fast than they ever did in an EDF game, and it doesn't take long at all for the screen to become absolutely filled with fireworks, enemies, and gunplay. It's bizarre to say the least, but it's kind of so far over the top that it redefines what this series is actually capable of, which is an absolutely delightful kind of thing. I actually really loved this from the opening seconds that I played it. Because the action is so Twitch orientated, mechanically Wing Divers is quite simple. You've got a couple of different weapons that you can alternate between, as well as a defensive dodge maneuver. The balance between these abilities is really well thought out, however, and in most cases across most of the levels, it's that much easier if you use the right weaponry at the right time. Enemy patterns as well are really well balanced, so that you get the full sense that you're playing a bullet hell game, but at the same time feeling like you're also playing something from the EDF series, which is of course more about the slaughtering of enemies than it is about bullet ballet. One of the things I did notice in the shift to SHMUP, however, is that Wing Divers feels much neater. With the base EDF games, you're always wrestling with the camera and often simply trying to see what's going on. You're really trying to force that camera to get into a position where it's not just a mess. That is, of course, in an old way, part of the game's appeal, because it adds to the unhinged chaos of it all. And they're never so challenging that a wayward camera or two is enough to ruin the experience. Wing Divers, however, is cleaner. It's much easier to make out what's going on, and there's no camera to worry about at all. Enemies simply come flooding in from the top of the screen, and you shoot them down from the bottom. It's simple. It's almost elegant. But of course, it's in a different genre entirely. But I'd have to say, in terms of the sheer playability, Wing Divers is the best EDF experience as of yet. Now, the real highlights, of course, and you've probably got a sense of this from the video, is the boss battles. Visually, these things are immediately impressive when you first see them, because they really do fill the screen to the point where you'll only see a section of them roaming around. They're that big, they're that kind of intimidating as such, that it can be very difficult to get a sense of just how large they are. They also have quite interesting attack patterns that really fill the screen with deadly projectiles. You'd expect nothing less from a shmup, of course, but learning those attack patterns is an enjoyable process, and because each boss is multi-staged, and each time you get to a new stage their attack patterns change, you need to learn a lot about, you need to learn a couple of different attack patterns to get through each boss. So each boss is really a couple of boss fights kind of rolled into one, which really helps add to the, I guess, longevity of the game. Now, I'm really bad at shmups, as you can probably tell from looking at this footage. So for me to really enjoy one of these games, it needs a couple of features that make it more playable for someone like me. It needs to have quite generous checkpointing, and it needs to have something to help me get a boost the next time around that I attempt a level. Wing Divers actually gets both of those right. Each level is broken into 3 sections, each over in just about a minute or so, if that. They're over very quickly, so, if you happen to get a game over or a fail screen, you never have to backtrack far to get to the point that you were beforehand. The most likely part of each level that you'll find challenging is, of course, the boss battles, because they are the harder part of each level. The good news is that there's always a checkpoint immediately before a boss, so if you do get a fail, you can jump straight back in and try again. In terms of how they make things a little bit easier for you, when you do get your wing diver killed, if you restart at a checkpoint, they have a small boost to their armor. And that's a really subtle effect. It's more numbers in the background than anything kind of visual or anything like obvious to make the level easier for you. And I think that's a really good thing for the developers to do, because that way you do get that boost to help you get through the level. You do get that help that you obviously needed, because otherwise you have the potential, I guess, of being really stuck in a level. And if you get stuck in a level, especially if you're like me, you get frustrated and give it up fairly quickly. But this way around, you do get that boost without feeling like the game is kind of talking down to you. You still feel like you're getting through the levels on your own skill. Now, I haven't actually finished this game as yet. The footage you're seeing is pretty much as far as I've got through it. This is the first 2 stages of the game, so I don't know how long it is. If it's like most shmups, or most Earth Defense Force games for that matter, it's not going to be that long, but I just haven't got the time to really kind of play it at the moment. It's the busiest time of year for releases, and as I mentioned at the start, this game was really dropped on us from out of nowhere. So developers, just as a hint, I guess, or a bit of advice going forwards, if you are going to release a game during the September, October, November time frame, make sure people know about it, so that critics and the like, people like me, can actually schedule this kind of game into our review lineup. Because otherwise, yeah, unfortunately, as much as I like Earth Defense Force and I've kind of really found myself attracted to this one from the start, I'm probably not going to get a chance to really finish it now until Christmas time. I'm certainly not going to get a chance to review it because I've just got that much other stuff going on at the moment. But I do recommend that people who are a fan of Earth Defense Force, or people who are a fan of shmups, actually give this one a go, have a look at it. If you missed it on Steam especially, here's your chance to play it. I guess on console, I don't know, I always find that if I'm going to play a shmup, I want to play it on console anyway, so this really kind of fits for me, and yeah, I recommend giving it a go. I mean, it is not the Earth Defense Force you might be used to, but it shows that this franchise can be used, or can be molded into different genres. It doesn't have to always be that third-person shooter experience, which are always good fun, but it's nice to know that there's some variety there, that the developers and the publishers see that there's potential for this game or this franchise to go beyond what we've got with those shooters. Now, in terms of the shooters, we do have a good one to look forward to next year, Iron, whatever it's called. That's really good. I got a chance to play it at TGS and had a great time with it. And in the meantime, we've got this one to look forward to, so Earth Defense Force is in a good place right now. Thanks very much for watching the video. I hope it was interesting, especially if you didn't know that this game was on its way to PS4. Hopefully it helped a couple of people find it, and thanks for watching. We will see you at the next video.